So welcome everybody to the Downtown Revitalization Incentives Program engagement session. This is Jen from Startup YMM. We've collaborated with the Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce to bring this event to business owners today to talk about downtown revitalization. So Diana D'Souza is joining us from the Fort McMurray Chamber.
Good morning, everyone.
And then my director at Startup YMM, Wood Buffalo Economic Development, Natasha Hartson, is here with us today as well.
Good morning, everyone.
And then last but not least, Amanda Haitas from RMWB Planning and Development. She's a senior manager and going to be presenting to us on Downtown Revitalization Incentives Program. So if you want to, I was going to say if you want to take it away, but first, I'll just say that we do have a question and answer box in here. So preferably if you have any questions, please put them in there and then we can at least keep track of them. It's a little bit easier than through the chat. So if you want to put any of your questions in there, then we'll get to them at the end. So you can take it away, Amanda.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And good morning, everyone. So as Jen had already mentioned, we will be going through the Downtown Revitalization Incentives Program, sort of the ins and outs of it and some of the highlights, just to give you a good understanding of what the program is, what it's about, and how you may be able to take advantage of it or one of your clients possibly. Okay, I'm just going to move this chat window here. Okay. So the program objectives are three. They're based on the municipality overall wanting to focus on the downtown and the revitalization of the downtown. As many of us know, our downtown is horribly outdated and it does need a lot of focus and a lot of care and a lot more energy put into it if we want our downtown to become a place where people want to spend time. There's a lot of efforts that are happening across different departments right now in the region. And one of the examples is this program that I'm going to be sharing with you today. In addition to that, there's the waterfront revitalization that's happening. There's an urban park that's being planned for, some community policing, and there's other elements of beautification, road improvements. And we're trying to, pick away at all the pieces that sort of need to be in place for our downtown to be successful. And we do realize that it will take some time, but at least we're putting the energy in now and our focus. The objectives of this program in particular are threefold. First, it's to retain existing businesses while helping attract new types of businesses that will increase pedestrian activity. So the premise of this program is we're hoping that these funds will help tenants to stay in the downtown or possibly attract tenants to the downtown. Secondly, it's to introduce new features and amenities that create interest and vibrancy, helping transform the downtown into a place where people want to spend time. And it just goes back to what I was saying earlier. We're hoping to see new elements into the downtown over the next few years and even out to 10, 15 years. And third, it's to enhance the aesthetic qualities within the downtown. One of the grants is focused on the exterior, and we're hoping to see some improved buildings through this program as well. So what are incentives? Incentives are intended to encourage investment that may otherwise have not occurred. So we're trying to put some capital dollars into the market, hoping that businesses will take advantage of it and actually do some interior or exterior improvements that likely wouldn't have happened without the grant. And incentives are used to promote and stimulate development in a specific area, in which case it is only the downtown. And here's a map of it. You're basically looking from the SNI down to the Clearwater Drive. So waterways being sort of in this section here. So it is the entirety of the downtown. And I'll get into more details as to the type of businesses that can apply. I would like to mention here as well that this is a pilot program. So we had approval for this program back in June. It was June 29th. And we started it on, June 29th, sorry, is when we started it. So it's been just shy over 4 months. And being a pilot program, we're basically testing the grants and seeing how they're doing, where some of the gaps may be, and where we sort of can improve moving forward. Within the program, there are 4 grants. There's the first being an exterior improvement grant, and that's for all improvements outside of a building. And for that grant, it's $75,000 to $100,000. It's $75,000 if you're mid-block, and it's $100,000 if you are on a corner. The grants are all matching grants. So for every dollar that you spend, the municipality matches it at $1. And in this case here, where there's $75,000 for exterior improvements, the project cost could be $150,000 and the municipality puts in $75,000. Or if the project cost is $50,000, the municipality puts in $25,000. There is no minimum spend, but there is a maximum threshold. And the other thing to note is that they are they're reimbursement grants. So you would have to spend the capital up front. Once the monies are spent, you come in with the receipts or invoices, and then you're given back 50% of the value of the project. So the first one is the exterior grant. The second one is an interior grant, which is $50,000. And those are for expenses related to maybe you're dividing up space, or you're knocking down walls to make a bigger space. You may be upgrading your electrical or HVAC or plumbing systems to be more energy efficient. You could be doing wheelchair accessibility. There's a variety of different eligible expenses that fall under the interior grant. And again, that's $50,000. So the project cost could be up to $100,000 and you're matched at $50,000. The third one is a patio grant, and that is to construct a new patio, or you can also improve an existing patio, and it's $10,000. If you're improving an existing patio, or even if it's a new one, it does cover costs such as furniture, lighting, canopy. If you're doing a railing, some sort of flooring or decking, this grant is pretty flexible. And it like, again, as I said, it can be used for those restaurants that already have a patio. And the fourth grant is a beautification grant, which sort of has 2 streams to it. One stream is a $5,000 value, which is for lower ticketed items, such as maybe benches or window art, painting, decorations or lighting for Christmas within a storefront window. You could be looking at flower pot planters, actual flowers or trees within a potting structure. And then we also have the murals, which is $30,000. And again, it's all matching. And that's a mural grant for the exterior of a unit or a building. For program eligibility, we're looking for anybody who either owns a property, is representing the owner, or is a tenant or business operator. It could be even a future tenant that wants into the space. They just basically need to have the property owner's signature to allow them to apply. So essentially anyone can apply as long as the property owner is in agreement with it. And the buildings that are eligible include downtown buildings only, and they are commercial, institutional, or mixed use buildings. And when we say mixed use, it would be a building that may have residential on top and retail at grade, or it could have retail and office mixed, but it does need to have some sort of commerce, basically. We are not covering costs related to residential. And at the moment, it doesn't include multifamily residential, such as apartment buildings, if there's no retail there. This slide is just more so as a reminder that this program is not flood related. It's not a flood restoration program. Although we did come out with a program shortly after the flood, we actually did that on purpose. The reason why is because a lot of businesses were thinking about shutting down or leaving the downtown or leaving Fort McMurray altogether. And we felt that it was imperative that we got this program out there. So in that way, if there were businesses who were considering staying and they needed that extra encouragement or capital investment, that we could at least try to bridge that gap. And when we say it's not flood restoration related, essentially we do not cover costs that are related to cleanup, for example, or if there was something that's being replaced from the flood, exact how it was before the flood, it doesn't cover that. However, it is important to mention that if you were flooded, you still would be eligible. You just have to ensure that anything that you're doing is an actual improvement or an upgrade from what was there before the flood. So an example would be if you had an HVAC system that you were replacing and you're replacing it with a higher an energy efficient unit, something like that actually would be eligible. Or for example, if you are putting walls back into your space and you're demising them differently, you're having a different floor plan to accommodate either a new tenant or your existing tenant, that would be an eligible cost. So there is a lot of sort of intricacies with each grant, and I'll talk about it later as to how you sort of find out more information about each individual grant. So here are some highlights of our guidelines, our overarching ones that you need to know. The funding is based on a first come, first served basis. The funding overall, we have $5 million for the program. It does close December 31st, 2020, which is why we are reaching out to your group today to make sure that people really are aware of the program as it is coming to an end shortly. But it doesn't mean that you actually need to spend the money by the end of the year. If you get your application in and you're approved by the end of the year, then you can actually spend the monies into 2021. So it's a way for you to secure that agreement and have your grant there, and then in 2021 you can access it. Grants are not retroactive, so if you or anybody you know has already done some work recently that may have qualified under the program, unfortunately they're not eligible to get any monies back because the work has to be approved first. The grant application has to be approved first before we can cover any of the costs. Projects must meet the program guidelines and design standards, which are all on our website, and I can quickly show you the link to our site. Projects must be completed in a timely manner. That's also part of some of the details that you'll see in relation to your grant agreement. Expenses are reimbursed after the project is complete, which we already discussed, and the applicants are responsible for paying the contractors. So the municipality doesn't pay any contractors. We essentially wait till the project's done. The project applicant comes into us at the end and submits the invoices or the receipts for reimbursement. So this is just a quick little application process visual, which kind of walks you through the steps of getting the grant if you're interested in it. One, we highly encourage a pre-application meeting. So what a pre-application meeting is, you sit down with a couple of our lead planners and our safety codes guys, and you basically tell them, you know, a little bit more about your business, what you're considering, which grants you're interested in, what the application requirements are, and sort of you have that discussion back and forth to understand what could be covered under the grant, what might not be covered. You may also get some new ideas or inspiration from our planners. So it's sort of a conversation, and it's good to have that pre-application meeting before your application is submitted, because it helps us help you make sure that it is a complete application. If the application is not complete, unfortunately, we have to send it back to you for revisions. And so it just wastes time. It's better to just have that meeting in the beginning and get both parties on the same page. Once you feel comfortable, you fill out your application, you submit it to us, and we do an application review, and it gets circulated where it needs to within the municipal departments. And then we notify you of a decision. At that point, you sign an agreement with us. Then if you do require any permits, so if you're doing any interior work, for example, or any exterior work that might require some permits, you of course have to apply for that anyway. You do the construction, and then you request your reimbursement at the end. Here are just some of the program milestones. So like I said, the program's been active for just over 4 months, And to date, we have processed 11 grants. The value of the grants are over $500,000. So when you double that, because the $500,000 is the 50% portion of the municipality, when you double that, it's over $1 million of private investment that is going into the downtown as a direct result of the program. So it's a positive sign for us. We weren't sure how the grants were going to be received, especially, the downtown has been a bit of a quieter place, and also with the flood happening and all the conversations around that, it has been really great to see that there is a level of interest. Just last week, our team went out to every business in the downtown and talked with business owners or whoever was there, contractors, workers, and we really are trying to get the word out. So we do expect that more grant applications will be coming shortly. You may have heard that the Tavern on Main was a successful applicant for the Patio Grant. Wood Buffalo Therapy and Red Arrow have also been successful. I've been told that Red Arrow was actually considering leaving the downtown, so it's great that this grant kept them there. We also recently, with the Wood Buffalo Food Bank, purchased a building in the downtown because of the grants. We also have some other new businesses, Get Pro Products, Caribou Flowers, who are all locating into the downtown or relocating because of the grant. So there has been a lot of momentum and movement around having this program available. And then I already mentioned this key date, which is December 31st, 2020. You have to have your application in and hopefully approved by then in order to access the funds. So we really do encourage you to apply now, and you can construct later. You do not have to do it in 2020. So there's some leeway. We've extended the project completion deadline to August 31st. So it gives you all of next spring and all of next summer. The other thing to note is we are planning to go to council with an update on the program early December. And we're hoping that council will extend the program for another year or maybe two, but we're not sure if that's going to be the case. So as of now, what we do know is that the program is approved. We have funds until December 31st, and we encourage you or any of your clients to reach out and get an application started as soon as possible. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. I believe we're going to open it up to discussion, and I'll let Jen take it from here.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Amanda. I do have a question in the question and answer area here. So asking if window art includes printed vinyl on windows.
I will let Jen or Susan take that. Hello?
Hello.
Authority first to speak, so.
Hi, Amanda. Hi, this is Jennifer speaking. What I can note is that regardless of the grant, there is a statement that says that projects that include window coverings on the ground floor are not eligible. So those vinyl wrap advertising, unfortunately, at this time, we're not supporting projects that include those at the ground floor. Thanks.
Jen, can I ask a question of clarity as well? I probably should know the answer, but I don't. The vinyl covering, if it's a portion of the window, is it covered?
The policy doesn't, I would say, it doesn't get into that level. I mean, perhaps there is some flexibility if it is, covering a portion of the window, or it's a smaller decal, like which may be permitted by land use bylaw. The intent of the policy was to discourage businesses from completely covering their windows, which we see a lot in the downtown, and it really, you really don't have any idea what's going on in the business. And I think a lot of people have told us sort of anecdotally that it keeps them from going into a business. So we really wanted to discourage businesses from doing that. And we've seen that in some other municipalities in their policy as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Just to sort of reiterate what Jen said, the intention of not covering the vinyls from top to bottom full coverage is essentially in communities, there's been research done on it where basically if there's sight lines, if you can see into a business, you're more likely to go into the business. And so creating solid blocking outside of a window doesn't really encourage the pedestrian activity that we want to see downtown. But of course, we understand that in some cases, you know, sometimes there's small decals or whatever, but we're essentially saying that the full 100% blocking or covering of a window is not encouraged or improved.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Amanda and Jen. Natasha, you also had a question, I think, during the presentation. I'm not sure if it was answered.
I do believe it was answered. It was just regarding, well, I had two questions. One was, I was wondering whether or not you would pay installments, but I think you said project has to be complete, so you won't pay up until then. I think the last question I have then was, is there a list of any of the interior eligible products? So is there an actual list on the website? I assume there might be.
Sorry, Natasha, is there a list of what?
The eligible interior projects, because you mentioned a few, but I was wondering if there's a list we could share out.
Yeah, so what we can do is, here, I'll just show you quickly online. Oh, I thought I had it up here. We do have on our website. Can you guys see my screen or no?
No, you've unshared.
Okay. Let's see here. Sorry guys, this is my first time using Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a green button on the bottom where it tells you to share screen.
Yeah, okay, I got it here. Okay, so if you go on our website, oh my gosh, I keep getting email notifications and it blocks my ability to press a button. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the website is rmwb.ca/incentives. We can share it afterwards. But when you go onto our site, this is what it looks like. It has 4 grants listed here, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. If you expand each tab, you'll see that the program guidelines and the application form are listed for each individual grant. So whichever grant you're interested in, you click on it, and then you have the additional information that pops up. And it's basically a PDF that has all the relevant information for you to sift through. It's not too much, but that's where you would find it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of on that note, I guess, someone did ask if we are able to share the slides from the presentation?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Okay. And then I'm noticing there are a few things in the chat box here. Where was that? So what's the difference between painted or printed on the windows, I'm assuming?
Oh, so and Jen may be able to elaborate a little bit more than I can. But there are, you know, when you have sort of a painted visual on a window, typically it's not going to cover the entire window. So for example, in the winter months, you often see snowmen or snowflakes or, you know, some sort of decoration that's there. And it typically does not have a solid covering from top to bottom. But Jen, if you have anything else to add, you please do so.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the question. You said a difference between painted and printed?
Yeah, that's right.
And this is with respect to window coverings?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's Debbie that's asking the question, so.
I think, you know, with the beautification grant, the intent, you know, of doing window coverings, they would be more of like an artistic, like temporary artistic installation. As Amanda mentioned, for example, sort of frosted windows, you know, over the holiday season. I think we saw a few of those downtown last year. That would be an example of something that's eligible, but that's completely different than, say, advertising, right? Where you have a vinyl wrap that's a permanent feature of the window. Thanks.
Gotcha, thank you. So Meg has a question about a client who meets the criteria but is hoping to create 3 new exterior walls to better use their space. They've been told only existing exterior walls are eligible and not expansion. They're still improving the look and aesthetic quality of the business. Existing walls with hideous stucco that is removed and recladded are acceptable, but not new walls with new cladding. Looking for clarification and reasonings.
Yeah, so I don't know if I really understand all the details as I should, but it seems like maybe this is a newly expanded, maybe it's a build on or an expansion to an existing building. I'm assuming that's what it is. If that's the case, no, it's only for existing buildings. It's only for existing infrastructure that's in the downtown. And you know, when it comes to new construction, there is a grant that is available for new construction, but it's not really a grant. It's actually a property tax relief. So you essentially are saving a portion of your property taxes for 5 years. The municipality will waive their portion of the property tax for the new development. So that could be something that her client may want to look into, but I don't know if I understood the whole situation properly.
Okay, thank you. If anyone else has any questions, then let us know either in the question and answer or in the chat, please.
The other thing is if people are interested in a pre-application meeting, we'll send you the link to email, or you can reach out to any of us. I know that some of us know each other on the call, and we'll be more than happy to arrange it for you as well.
And Meg says, yes, that's correct. It's an addition to an existing business. So thanks,
Yeah,
Amanda.
So in that case, it's not, it doesn't qualify. And the rationale behind it is because we're trying to encourage to revamp our old stock downtown. And that's the focus of the grant, is to bring sort of all of our existing buildings to 2020, basically.
I'll ask one last one, if that's all right. And I think you might have answered it, so I apologize if you did, Amanda. But if you have commercial on the bottom floor and then residential above, are you able for exterior grant for exterior upgrades? Are you able to do it for the whole building or just the commercial portion?
I believe it's the whole building, but Jen, can you please confirm? Jen, I don't know if you're speaking or not, but we cannot hear you.
Oh, she says she's having audio issues.
Oh, she's having audio issues.
Yeah.
Susan, are you able to advise?
Unmute. Hi, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, right. Sorry, could you just repeat the question, please?
Yes, for sure. So the question is, if you are applying for an exterior, one of the grants for exterior upgrades to a building that has commercial on the first floor and then residential above, does the whole, can you do the whole building, or is it only the commercial floor that's eligible?
Right, that's kind of a tricky one. I guess we would expect the focus to be on the first floor commercial aspect rather than the whole of the building.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really what's at sort of eye level, I guess, is what we're looking for. So, yeah.
Okay.
That would be the
Just,
focus.
yeah, just curious because it wouldn't really quite work in the building I'm thinking about for you to just do the commercial floor without having some change to the residential.
Yeah, I think it would. I don't know. Each building is so different. Sorry, I keep getting sidetracked. Each building can be so different. So if it's perhaps only a 3-story building, it may make sense. Whereas if you get some of the taller buildings, then, well, you probably wouldn't get very much for your 75,000 or even 100,000. So I think maybe with a smaller building where that would probably make sense. So as I say, that's why we always like the pre-application meetings, so we can advise on what's best and how to get the most out of the grants for people.
Okay, thanks, Susan.
So it sounds, sorry, just to sum that up, it sounds like it's a bit of a gray, Natasha. And I guess it depends on the actual building, but that there could be a potential to look at more than just the one level.
Yeah, it's I suppose what we're looking for, especially with the facade grants, is something that makes a difference, something that has an impact. So if it's say maybe only a 2 or 3 story building, just to say, oh, focus on the first floor would perhaps look ridiculous. So that's why we, as I say, the value of having the pre-application meeting that enables us to make a decision.
Perfect. So I do have a question from Vanessa. She just joined in now, so she might have missed the answer, but they used to be on in River City Center, 2nd floor. Would they be able to apply for this? And how many people will be offered this incentive program?
Good question. First of all, one thing I did not clarify in the presentation, it wasn't in the Qs, is that the grants are per building. So there are 4 grants which we went through. Each building in the downtown is eligible to apply for each of those grants. So to sort of give you an idea, you have something like Peter Pond Mall. They would be eligible for 1 exterior grant, so 75,000, arguably 100,000 because it's kind of on the end of a block. They would be eligible for an interior one, they'd be eligible for a patio one, and they'd be eligible for a beautification one. Now, if you look at something smaller like Mitchell's Cafe, they too would be eligible for the same amount of grants. So if there is a building such as the River City Center, and the question here is, would she be eligible? Yes, you are eligible for the grant, and you would be interested in the interior grant, which is $50,000, but there's only 1 grant given per building. So either one tenant takes it and uses it all, or it can be shared. The $50,000 can be shared amongst the different tenants in the building if someone else was interested. Just for your awareness, Vanessa, I am not aware of any business in the River City Center, unless Susan or Jen know otherwise, that has gone in and applied for the grant. So you could be lucky in the fact that you may be able to apply and get the full $50,000. Of course, the property owner would have to be in agreement. I personally have reached out to Canderel, who owns that property, and have made them aware of the program, but they have not applied for anything that I'm aware of.
Okay, and Jennifer says there's no grants from River City right now. So,
like no one has applied. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Vanessa, you may want to reach out to your property manager or your building owner, just get their okay, and then I would suggest you get your application in as soon as you can, because it is first come, first serve.
And so she's just asking now if you'll send out information on the application.
Yeah. We'll send out the link to, it's rmwb.ca/incentives, and all the information about the interior grant and all the other ones is there. And sorry, Vanessa, you did miss a portion of the presentation, but we also encourage a pre-application meeting. So if you reach out to us, we'd be more than happy to organize something with you and go through the details of the application process.
Okay, so Debbie asked to confirm grants are per building and not per organization or business.
Yes, that's correct. It's per building. So in the example of a small place like Mitchell's, they're entitled to the same amount of grants as Peter Pond Mall, as an example. And the reason, the main reason why we did it that way is because this was a pilot project. We had no idea what the uptake was going to be. Before the flood, we were in the works of getting this program out, and we were actually going to have it only along Franklin Avenue between Morrison and Hardin Street. It was supposed to be a very concentrated area. And once the flood hit, we thought it was best to just open it up to the entire downtown, because if it could save one business, then it was worth opening it up. So we did have to put some restrictions on it. If we would have left it open per business, we could have had a situation where Peter Pond, for example, they have say 100 tenants. They could have basically absorbed the entire $5 million budget. So we had to make it so that it was equitable and fair for the entire downtown.
Amanda, Diana here. Is there any consideration being given to changing that? Because if you're in a mall and it's your business and you want to improve your interior or your facade to encourage more foot traffic, it's kind of a little bit for somewhere that has multiple locations, Peter Pond, River City. Is that something that will be considered going forward?
We're taking a deep look at all the grants right now, and I'm sure that's something that's on the list. I've already been thinking, and this is probably an internal conversation, but I have been thinking, you know, if the program does get extended to next year, if council does allow us to bring it into the next year, then I would almost think that we would have a reset on the program, because it would then open up opportunities for other businesses in buildings who may have used the grants in 2020. But I don't know, Diana, how much conversation there has been on opening it up to all the tenants, just because the budget is finite. We don't have an unlimited budget. So I understand what you're saying, but it's hard to know, how do you still make it available for the entire downtown, or maybe you increase the interior improvement to allow for 3 tenants or something. I don't know, maybe that could be something we consider.
Amanda, this also includes strip malls then as well.
Yeah.
So the strip mall would only be entitled to 1. So
yeah,
just kind of going on what Diana's saying, I think that does limit you, because those strip malls would have a lot of individual small businesses.
Yes. And we had talked about that at length before the program was approved. And the main reason why we did that is because there were situations where some, even along Franklin, some of the strip malls have units all along the ground level, and in the second floor there's various offices, and we were crunching the numbers, and like one building could be eligible for like 20% of the entire budget for the whole program. So it was hard to make that call. The other thing to consider, though, in the case of the plazas or strip malls, a lot of the strip malls on Franklin Avenue, they're actually more than one building. So for example, if you look at across the street from Jubilee, where there's Subway is there, I think it's Hair Trends, there's a ton of different businesses there, but they're actually within multiple buildings. So even though some of them look like they may be one contiguous building, they're in fact separate buildings likely. It depends on the address and the situation. And then another thing to note is, if there is one property owner and there's 3 buildings on the property, they still are eligible for 4 grants per building. It doesn't matter who owns the building, it's just that it goes per structure.
I muted myself. I think there may be an opportunity to maybe brainstorm an approach for where you have those malls, and maybe it's smaller grants per store versus per building in those situations, so that more people can access it, and then it falls within the budget. Just something that we could potentially brainstorm.
Yeah, and the one thing is the businesses can share it. So for example, if a building owner wanted it to go into 2 businesses within his building, he could do 25,000 if he wanted to. Because it's a first come, first serve, though, that would take coordination on the building owner's part. What we've seen is, in one example, we've only had an issue or a complaint in one instance where a building applied for, it was a tenant who applied for a $50,000 grant and got it. And then there was someone who was a little annoyed about that in the same building. But at the end of the day, the building owner signed off on it. Like, so it was out of our control. But other than that, we haven't had any issues to date about it. So that's good, at least.
Perfect. So I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat or the Q&A, but is there a particular like email that people can reach out to, or phone number that they can call if they have any further questions?
Yeah, so the general email is cip@rmwb.ca. That's sort of like the grant stream that goes through that email. But I don't mind if people reach out to me, and you can share my email after, Jennifer. We want to be of help, so whatever is easiest, you can email either or, and we can look at setting up a pre-application meeting and getting you through the process. And if you have any clients or if you have any contractors who could benefit from this information, if you could pass it along. I know in some cases when contractors are downtown doing work, they could actually upsell their work if they'd like, because there's likely more that is eligible under these grants than business owners even realize. So, it's an opportunity for contractors to also increase their scope too.
Hey, Amanda, I do think Vanessa asked, I know you answered this, but if you want to reiterate it, when the grants were being offered, she did ask that. But I know she came late, but that was asked in there somewhere.
When they're being offered?
Yeah, so I think, was it December 31st is the cutoff?
Yeah.
But spend up to August 31st.
Yeah, so we need to have your approval or have your application in and hopefully approved by the end of December of this year. So like I said, if you are thinking about it, get on it now. And then you can spend the money up until August 31st of 2021. And also first come, first serve. And it is a $5 million overall budget that we have to draw from for the program. Not to confuse things any further, I do want to be transparent with you guys. We are planning to go to council in early December to ask for an extension to the program. So you may get a notification that we've been able to extend it into next year. But as of right now, that's not been confirmed or approved. And it would still be first come, first serve. So it's still in your benefit to just get your application in.
I don't know, Jen, if you see, there was one more question from Meg, was wondering if she can apply for her clients or should they apply themselves?
Oh, okay. So if Megan was to apply for her clients, she would just have to have the property owner's approval. She'd have to make sure that we've got a signature from the property owner allowing her to apply. So it would be totally up to her if she wants to sort of run the process from beginning to end and be that in between, then that's fine. It's completely up to her. The other thing to note, sorry, is that there are professional, in some cases, there may be some professional fees that are required to spend before you get your application in. So in the case that you need engineering drawings or something like that, just know that those expenses are eligible for reimbursement. So in the case of Megan and Jen or Susan, you can clarify or confirm, but she is, I believe that she's an interior architect. So I think her cost would actually be eligible for reimbursement if it's part of the application process.
Yeah, the professional fees are an eligible expense, but the amount of the fee that's awarded is 15% of the cost of the project, and it's part of the grant. So with your 50,000 interior grant,
it comes out of that grant.
It comes out of that grant, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. The other thing to note too is for those of you who are interested in potentially applying, it can seem a little bit overwhelming, especially we understand that businesses are just so busy trying to keep afloat and just, you know, it's really hard time to be a business owner. Some businesses are hiring contractors or consultants to manage the whole application process and sort of take that on. If that's something that you're interested in, fine. We've had a lot of applicants who haven't done it. They've done it all on their own. But there are companies in town that could offer those services. We can't personally vouch for any company, but I do know that Urban Systems and Akron Engineering, for example, are a couple of the ones that have reached out to us to say that they're trying to work with clients to put them through the program. So that's also an option as well. But that, again, is totally your decision, and we don't vouch for anybody.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Amanda. So if there isn't any other questions, then we can send out the emails that you can reach out to, the link for the program, send out the slides also afterwards. And yeah, feel free to reach out to anyone to get further information on this program being offered.